Hello, and I am coding on a Google Pixel, and that is what I'm doing. But I also made a landscape tool, and landscape sculpt tool in Godot for the first video. This took me a minute. I was gonna go ahead and do like a tutorial thing with the tutorial series, but it's too many hours. So instead, I'm just going to show you what I did. And if you want a tutorial, just send me the comments. And then also, I will go ahead and reveal some code before the tutorial gets done. So, the landscape is a shader. 100%. All it is a shader. It has some bumps in it. You can see with the grid, 1 second, it is so big actually. I think it's 1,000 by 1,000 by 12 by 12. So it's 12 times the size of, or 4 times the size of your massive landscape in Godot, blah blah blah. And it's just a massive island. And it was just something I wanted to create. Now, does it work? The answer is yes, because I am a great coder. Obviously, it fucking works. So, here's the bumps. You can feel the bumps. If I go off the landscape, it stops. It goes to the bumps. You might be wondering, why the fuck didn't I fall? Well, it's because I don't have any gravity yet. I just have the landscape floor right now. I will have gravity later, and it will involve the landscape floor. And no, you won't be able to go beneath the floor, because is on the floor is going to be is the landscape, and I'm going to replace the is on the floor code altogether. So yeah, you get the bumpies, you get to go up, you get to go down, blah 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 blah. See, bump, there's a bump right there. It's not a very bumpy landscape. That's because I'm going to have some stuff in there, but it does have its curves, and it does have its hills, yada yada yada. And whatever I do to the landscape texture, it updates. Okay, might be wondering what that thing was at the top. That thing was actually color. I'm going to go ahead and correct that color right now. It is the pixels of the landscape. Actually, it is grabbing the vertex math of the landscape texture, and I'll show you how I did that. That's actually pretty easy. Not the way you think. Not the way you think. Godot is pretty weird sometimes. Where does that need to be closed? Is that back here? Oh, that's not extra. Okay. So, I'm grabbing R and G. R and G is height. And then the landscape texture is right here. I threw it right there in the sub viewport, and 1,000 by 1,000 sub viewport, blah blah blah. How did I get it to do the mathy math for 1,200 or 12,000 by 12,000, I guess? Well, the mathy math was actually really easy. I just divided the pixel math by 12. And then the landscape height is here. Because the landscape shader, which is the most important part here, let me go ahead and open that up, is right here, and the beast is right here. Just a little bit of vertex math. Vertex is albedo G, texture, vertex texture, blah blah fucking blah, vertex texture R. Didn't need albedo G. I don't know why I have it in there. Albedo G is green in general. Don't know why that's in there. I'm not going to take it out of there, because it's doing this mathy math thing. So anyways, I shouldn't have needed it. Why? And then I don't know why this isn't breaking. But the albedo math for the colors is right here, and it is vector 3 albedo text with albedo text B to multiply each channel. So R and R, and then it's R and G, and then it's R and B, and then it's G and whatever. You get it. There's 9 total. So it's like RGB times RGB is 3 times 3, which is 9. 9 total channels. But I use 7 instead because I have 7 textures. And that's all of these. And I use this guy, this tool right here, to paint them up. Oops, that is not supposed to be attached to anything, but it is. This landscape tool for painting is right here, and this is the same. Add the textures, yada yada yada. Add the albedo B, and then the same albedo math, RGB, 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 RGB stuff for each channel. And then the painting, it works with a drawing script. The drawing does the drawing. So first I draw a circle, and then I do a 4-eye and range to draw for base of children. The children are created with my fingers, left click. That's how they're made. The children are these little node 2Ds which have information. They have position, and then they have color, which is modulate. And that's how I get the color. Where was I at? What was I doing? Landscape. Child demonstration. Demonstration. Right here. Oops. Right here. It's going to be this one, and then this one, and then I press play, and it'll let me paint, and it'll paint red and red, which that'll give me something. If I scale up my brush a little bit, that gives me something, and then in blue and red gives me a different thing, and then green gives me something else, and then green and not red gives me something else, and then red and green gives me grass, blue gives me something else, and then blue and this other color gives me this, and then with red it gives me something else, probably black, brown. Yeah, and then if you're wondering how I did it so nice and neat, I used a bunch of low alphas to do that. How I did that on the pixel, you just keep doing it over and over and then saving the images. Oh, how to save an image, really easy to do. If you want to know, I'll just get that real quick. All I did was image, get viewport, get texture, blah blah blah, and that is within the context of being within a sub viewport. So getting the viewport is actually getting the sub viewport, and then it's image save PNG to label.txt. The label.txt determines the info, which is reds, 5B, paint, PNG, blah blah blah. When you leave Godot and open it up, you'll have a painting, and so that allowed me enough tools to make a landscape, which is what I needed to get started. So with 1 minute left, I'm just gonna leave with some context. Because I know how to make a landscape, and I know how to do it pretty well, and I know how to control the height of the character based on the landscape, I'm going to now make an ocean, which does the same thing, but for buoyancy. Because I can, because I have that info, because I have that math, because I can. It's not the prettiest landscape, but the landscape's prettiness really doesn't matter all too much. It matters, but it doesn't really matter as long as it's got textures on it. If you look at most games, they all just have textures on them. So let's go look at Skyrim. The rocks continue to repeat, the grass continues to blah blah blah. It is the environment and the lighting that actually make the game look well in an open world game. So that is the main thing. I can worry about the landscape later when I can get better landscape tools. But for now, that is what I have for a landscape. If I want to build a river later or something like that, I can. It's not going to be too difficult, and that math will just update with my camera. Later on, I'll have a player instead of just a camera. A player that can look around rather than just look straight and move right, left, and back and forward. Anyways, that is it. I am Joshua Blackman. I am literally here making a game with the Google Pixel. 1, for shits and giggles, and 2, because I actually want to make money off the game, and 3, for publicity. I honestly want the attention. I need the attention. I want people to know what I can do, and then I also want to give away some information, like you can build a landscape yourself if the asset library won't provide one, a good one. Blah 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 blah, you know.